But what is special about this particular concert that makes you especially excited to perform?
What appealed to me about this program was the interesting repertoire that Tom Crawford selected and the really interesting mix of violinists. They're colleagues of mine and friends of mine, and also people I find very inspiring as players and musicians. So I think that combination, in this instance, that Tom's programmed very Italian Baroque music, it's really that repertoire is very dear to my heart, and so it's really exciting to have those threads come together for this program.
So, leading into the Italian Baroque idea, certainly J.S. Bach and Antonio Vivaldi are almost household names, and those composers get performed a lot in any given season. However, Albinoni and Tartini are not necessarily as well known. Could you tell us a little bit about those composers that's unique or different about this particular set of composers?
Yeah, it's true. I actually don't know a lot about Albinoni yet, and I look forward to getting to know more because I have encountered just a few times over my career his music. So I'm really excited to get to learn more about it with my colleagues. But Tartini, I've actually encountered as a player quite a few times over my career. I find his music really compelling, and so I've found places where I could play it as much as possible. In general, the Italian Baroque style draws me to it because it happens to be the moment where in time where the violin itself sort of became one of the most important instruments and one of the most popular instruments, and everybody was writing for it. It really wasn't the case before that era. And Tartini is someone whose career really tracked with that. He himself was a player, and he performed, he composed many wonderful pieces, one of which we're going to perform. And then I also like about him that at the end of his career, he became a really important teacher, and violin students from all over Europe were drawn to go and work with him. And I don't know, I think that kind of speaks to he must have been really nice and supportive. I love the idea that someone who clearly played very virtuosically and composed wonderfully also seemed to have enjoyed helping his colleagues, helping the next generation. I love that generosity of spirit. So I'm a big Tartini fan.
Uh, do you play a modern violin at all?
I do play. I own and play a modern violin as well as my Baroque violin that I'll be playing was made in 1746 in what's now Spain. It's made in Barcelona, but I do have another violin that I will perform when it's more appropriate to the music to use a modern violin. So
How
I'm
would,
very fortunate. I'm fortunate to have more than one.
how would you contrast the sounds? How
Well,
would
I think
you play
yeah.
music?
How would I contrast the sounds between
Hmm?
my modern violin and my Baroque violin? I guess the contrast to me is the color of the sound is different between the two of them, and it's hard to describe when as you know I spend my life. I'm very fortunate to spend my life with that sound under my ear, so it's so much a part of me that it's hard to describe it. But I think people side by side would be able to describe some kind of color difference, and I think that's due to many factors, the strings being different, the Baroque ones being gut, and the modern ones being metal. And I think, some orchestra players over the years have, when I've guested with groups, have asked me, why does your violin sound different? And when that question has been asked, it's because I was using a different string material, gut string. So there was clearly something in the timbre that was remarkable to them.
You mentioned the date of your Baroque violin. How does one find a Baroque violin of that age? How do you even find something that's almost 300 years old?
Yeah, it's not so easy as going to the corner store and getting it at the ye old violin shop. Um,
Yes.
it's a process in every string player's life. This is an issue for violinists, violists, cellists, and also double bass players. That the instruments themselves, when they're that old, they're really treated more like objects of art like say your average brand new guitar, which I love brand new guitar. Don't get me wrong, but so actually art houses sometimes deal in these instruments. And so I went to a specialist based in, at that time, I think he was in London, but kind of violin matchmaker, if you
Oh,
to give
wow.
you away. It's not an official title, but it's someone who has an enormous amount of expertise in violins and understands them and is a musician and has a great ear. And I said to this person, a friend of mine that I met, you make connections. I just met him, and I said, I'm looking for that special one. And so it took a few years, and he would just call me up when he found something that he thought would appeal to my sensibility. And lo and behold, I had another instrument at the time that I was borrowing, so I wasn't totally desperate, but I needed to find this forever instrument for myself. Anyway, he connected me to this instrument, and I remember tuning it. And at that point, I happened to be playing at the Smithsonian Institute a series of concerts, and I was um, given the opportunity to play a Stradivarius from their
Wow.
collection. But I couldn't leave the museum with it because it's too valuable. So they're thank goodness I didn't want to. So at
Yeah, of
the end of the
course.
night, I would put that one back, the Stradivarius back, to give it back to its keeper, and I would go home to my hotel, and I had this violin that I was trying out, and I would practice it, and I thought, wow, this is not a Stradivarius, but wow, I'm really happy right now, and I want to keep this violin. And so that contrast was really, I think it helped me a lot, um, convince myself, or just be willing to commit to acquiring this 1746 instrument for myself. I thought, well, if it stands up well to that instrument, then I think I'm in good shape. And that was over 25 years ago, and I've never regretted it once.
Did you have to go to Europe to collect it before you tried it out?
Well, I traveled a lot at the time, so I was trying instruments in every place I was. I was in a group that was called in Canada called Music Baroque Orchestra, and we did a lot of touring, which was wonderful at the time. And so every time we would hit a city that had a violin shop in it, I would reach out and go and say, do you have anything you can show me? It was really fun, actually. Yeah,
I love what you said about a 1746 violin being an object of art. How
yeah.
many things do we have in our US museums that are still museum quality, but they're actually newer than
Yeah.
your violin?
Yeah, it's a heavy responsibility, one that I'm very honored to take on, to keep this violin for the next person. I mean, as
Yeah.
much as it's going to be some kind of heartbreak when I do have to give
So,
it.
so
Yeah.
how long have you been a professional musician, Aislinn?
Well, professional.
Years.
I mean, I'm still working on it, trying to get better every day. But I think I started gigging for money the first when I was in my teens back in Toronto. Asked by wonderful supporters and mentors to come and play with the local choir. Come and do a church service. So nothing super high profile, but let's say if union membership is an indicator, which I think it is. I'm a proud member of several unions. I think the first time I had to look this up, I joined the Professional Musicians Union in Canada in 1998. So it's been a while. And
Well,
yeah.
the reason I asked is because I'm really interested in the next question, if there's an answer. And that is, how would you describe your relationship to music when you started in relation to the way you view music now? What is your own involvement in perception and what you pursue, and how has that evolved over the years, if it has?
I don't remember a time before I thought of myself as a musician,
Yeah.
whether or not I was professional. And I mean, there was a time, but I just don't remember it because I was so teeny tiny. I was 3.5 when I started, and then
Whoa.
by the time people were asking the question, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I was saying, "Well, either I'm going to pitch for the Yankees, or I'm going to be a violinist." And older brother is an athlete, and so I watched him with great admiration when I was growing up. And he taught me how to throw a pretty mean split finger fastball when I was a kid. But now I have to save that velocity for the violin now. I was just burning with a drive to become a musician, whatever that meant. And I didn't think about the context of my life or where I would be or what I would do. I was gonna do whatever it took. Was fortunate to have some opportunities to play as a professional. And I thought it took me a while to get mature enough to know what an honor and privilege that was. And then, but I have not lost any of that burning passion for it. So I really take as much pleasure as I ever did out of it. I'm so excited every day to get up and think about music and think I have another chance to learn something in life. And I love doing that. I think that's what keeps me going, you know. So if it's a difficult travel day or I'm frustrated about something or I'm not feeling at my peak, I remind myself that it's such an honor to keep learning.
That is so great to hear.
Thank you. That's lovely.
Is there something that you could tell us that we should be, on the lookout for?
I would recommend, if I was going to go to this concert, I'd be curious to see and witness how the different personalities of the players come out in their performing, because I've been fortunate to see all these violinists perform elsewhere, and everybody's really cool. So, but to me also very different, and I think that's a strength, and I would find that entertaining. So I'll be curious to see what your audience thinks.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I really look forward to seeing you again in just like 2 weeks. I can't believe it's coming up.
I'm so looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
All right.